Acharya Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai, Shri Shri Gaurita ki jai, Andrashan Bhagavatam ki jai, Guru Prema. All glories are similar. All glories are similar. All glories are similar. All glories to the Lord of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayana Namaskaryam. From Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, entitled Samadhana, we are reading chapter 83, entitled Draupadi Meets the Queen of Krishna. Today we are going to read 17, 18 and 19. 17 and 18 does not have a purport, I'll read myself, and we'll decide 19 together. Text 17. Sri Lakshmana Uvacha. Sri Lakshmana Uvacha. Sorry, 17 and 18 myself. Sri Lakshmana Uvacha. Bhamatiranya Ratsujarma Karma Shrutva Bhurnarada Geetam Asaha Chittam Kunde Kila Padma Hastaya Vrita Sushamshraya Vihaya Lokapan. Translation. Sri Lakshmana said, O Queen, I repeatedly heard Narada Muni glorify the appearances and activities of Achyuta. On this my heart also became attached to the Lord Mukunda. Indeed, even goddess Padmahasta chose him as her husband after careful consideration, rejecting the great demigod who ruled various planets. Text 18. Gyatva matam sadvi pita dutri vatsalaha brahsena iti kyatas tatropayam achikarat. Translation. My father, Brihatsena, was by nature compassionate to his daughter, and knowing how I felt, O saintly lady, he arranged to fulfill my desire. Text 19, please repeat. Yata swayam vare rajni. Yata swayam vare rajni. Mansaya parthap sayakataha. Mansaya parthap sayakataha. Ayam vare rachanno. Ayam vare rachanno. Rishyate sajale panam. Rishyate sajale panam. Yata swayam vare rajni. Yata swayam vare rajni. Mansaya parthap sayakataha. Mansaya parthap sayakataha. Ayam vare rachanno. Ayam vare rachanno. Rishyate sajale panam. Rishyate sajale panam. Yata swayam vare rajni. Yata swayam vare rajni. Mansaya parthap sayakataha. Mansaya parthap sayakataha. Ayam vare rachanno. Ayam vare rachanno. Rishyate sajale panam. Rishyate sajale panam. Yata swayam vare rajni. Yata swayam vare rajni. Mansya parthap sayakataha. Mansya parthap sayakataha. Ayam vare rachanno. Ayam vare rachanno. Rishyate sajale Yatha, just as Swayamvare, in your Swayamvara ceremony, Rajni, O Queen, Matsyaha, a fish, Partha, Arjuna, Ipsaya, with the desire of obtaining, Kritaha, made into a target. I am this fish, too. However, Bahi, outwardly, Archanaha, covered, Prishyate, was seen, Saha, it, Jale, in water, Param, only. Translation and purport by the followers of divine grace. Abhay Charnarinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation: just as a fish was used as a target in your Swayamvara ceremony, O Queen, to assure that you would obtain Arjuna as your husband, so a fish was also used in my ceremony. In my case, however, it was concealed on all sides and only its reflection could be seen in a pot of water below. Arjuna is famous as the most expert dormer. Why then could he not hit the fish target as Srimati Lakshmana's Swayamvara ceremony, just as he had done once before to be Draupadi? Srila Sridhar Swami explains, the target at Draupadi's Swayamvara had been covered only partially so that the marksman could see if he looked straight up the pillar on which it was placed. To shoot Lakshmana's target, however, it was necessary to aim by looking up and down at the same time, an impossible feat for any mortal. Therefore, only Krishna could strike the target. Om Jnananandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshuranandana Prasvanshri Guruvema Chaitanya Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayambhuta Kadamajam Vidaki Sampadatam Vanchakalpatena Bhishta Kapasana Venja Patitanam Bhavavidyu Vaishnavya Namalama Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Sri Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Krishna Hare Krishna. Continuing to read chapter 83 of the Symphonies of Krishna. I'd like to start the class with the story of a monk who gained nothing but lost everything. So this is a Buddhist monk who was sitting very quietly in deep meditation. And his face was very peaceful, his eyes were closed, and he was absorbed completely within himself. And he's been reading for many years, and so you could see how externally he was very peaceful. A visitor comes and looks at this Buddhist monk, and he observes him for some time, and then he approached him, asked him quite bluntly. He said, what have you gained by sitting here every day? Like this. And what have you gained by what is the use of false meditation? The monk opened his eyes and just said nothing. The visitor thought he must have, has the question properly and repeated the question again. And this might again repeat, he said nothing. So for this, the visitor started laughing and he said nothing. Then why do you waste your time like this, sitting here every day, all the time? So the monk smiled softly and he said, I have not gained anything, but I have lost a lot of things. So the Buddha is confused. He asked, what is that? He said, I have lost anger, I have lost anxiety, I have lost fear, I have lost envy, I have lost restlessness, I have lost all my worries, and I have lost my insecurities. And he continued to say that meditation gave me nothing, but it took away everything which actually I don't want to have. It doesn't belong to me. So the reason I'm saying this is because most of us, we are practicing devotees. We've been coming for a number of years. And a lot of us come during the weekend to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes we hear Bhagavad Gita class. And I'm just talking my own experience when I first started. I couldn't understand anything because I started from Canto 4 and all the heavy duty philosophy really go in my head. And of course, some of us come only during weekends, so we don't hear the class regularly. So when we come and attend, some of us, at least I'm talking about myself, we don't understand everything what's going on. And we might think that, when we talk about philosophical matters, we think, the highest goal of life is, Krishna praying, and we should have love of Krishna and all that. And then we hear all this every day, we hear classes, and we think, when am I going to achieve that? That's a very exalted position. Where do I stand? I'm nowhere. So we sort of feel a bit lost. So we might feel that we haven't gained anything. We come here, we hear, we go back and do our duties, and we feel we haven't gained anything. But what we must remember that in this process of hearing, we actually lose a lot of things which we don't need. A lot of the anarthas which is deep-rooted in our hearts slowly get eradicated. So, hearing about Krishna and Krishna Katha from the text of Srimad Bhagavatam is not only very glorious, but it also removes all of the troublesome things in our heart. Therefore, it explains Shrivatams Katha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. When someone hears about Krishna, who is present in the heart of Paramatma, Punya Shravana Kirtana, he is glorified with select verses. Krishna. So what happens is, Hridayantasta Bhadrani, so in our heart he is present, and what does he do? He eliminates all the material desires, all the troublesome in our heart. All the other processes of yoga, whether it is dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and jnana yoga, they remove those things superficially. But Krishna Katha removes from the root itself all of the abhadranis, all the troublesome in our heart, all of the anarthas and all the unnecessary material desires. He removes it from the root itself, so that they don't come back again. And therefore, it is explained that Srimad Bhagavatam is one friend of ours who stays with us throughout our life. We all need a friend, but Srimad Bhagavatam will remain with us throughout our life. And therefore, if we make Srimad Bhagavatam as our best friend, Srimad Bhagavatam will remain with us throughout. And in Bhagavatam, when we hear all these wonderful, wondrous activities of Krishna, all the troublesome in our heart is eradicated, and faith in the Lord is firmly established. And it is explained that Srimad Bhagavatam Mahamuni Kimva Parishvara. What else is required other than these scripture like Srimad Bhagavatam? Nothing else required. Srimad Bhagavatam will actually take us back to Godhead. But what is necessary is Savyo Kriti Avyudhate Atra Kritivihi Shushvi Takshana. If one hears attentively and submissively the stories and the glories of Krishna and his devotees from Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is personally present in the heart very quickly. You might ask, Krishna is already present in my heart, Paramatma. Yes. But if we have firm faith in Srimad Bhagavatam, and if we hear attentively and submissively, then Krishna personally is present in our heart. And you can imagine what situation that will be glorious. And so one should never undermine the power of hearing about Krishna, especially in the association of devotees. Whether we understand or not. Sometimes we don't understand, sometimes we feel sleepy, sometimes we get distracted. But nevertheless, it's going in our ears, and it has a desired effect. But if we hear submissively and attentively, then the effect is even more amplified. Of course, Srila Prabhupada made his very own famous statement. He said, I did not understand the words of my spiritual master at that time. But I was very much anxious to hear him. That's all. I was simply sitting and hearing. Even if I did not understand, I simply heard. So you can imagine just Prabhupada saying that, and well, of course we know what happened after that. So such an important part of our devotional life is hearing. Of course, we also hear in this chapter about Draupadi hearing from the queens of Krishna, how they were married to Krishna, and how in various ways they are eager to perform their service to Krishna and eternally. On the last couple of verses we read here, is Lakshmana saying that she's attached to the lotus feet of Krishna and she wants to serve him eternally, just like how goddess Padmahasta. Who's Padmahasta? The person who holds the lotus in her hand is called Padmahasta, and that person is Mother Lakshmi. And she came at the time of Sagarman, churning of the Ocean, when Mother Lakshmi came and she got married to Lord Vishnu. And so, in Varnashrama system, we have the 4 ashramas and 4 varnas. In the 4 ashramas, of course, we have the Brahmacharya, we have the Grihastha, then we have the Vanaprastha and the Sannyas. Of the 4, the most significant one is the Grihastha ashrama. I'm not trying to undermine the other ashramas, very important. But in terms of, you see the population of humans, majority of them will fall under the Grihastha ashrama. And not only the population of Grihastha ashrama is greater, but the Grihastha ashrama also sustains the other ashramas. So Griha means home, Stha means one who is placed, or one who is situated or residing. And therefore Grihastha means a householder, or who is situated in a house. So in Vedic terms, Grihastha is a person who has entered married life, and he's a householder who maintains a house, and he has duties and responsibilities. And most importantly, on top of all that, he practices spiritual life. Without practicing spirituality, then that doesn't define what is a Grihastha. In the previous yugas, if you see, now we are in Kali Yuga now, but in the previous yugas, both the husband and wife played a very important role, not only in their own Krishna conscious life, but also in the Krishna conscious life of the entire society. It's a very important role. That's why this Grihastha ashram is emphasized so many times. Of course, in Kali Yuga, this whole Varnashrama system has disappeared, and the man and women coming together is for the purpose of self-gratification and for convenience. It has become so abominable now for a hastha, instead of a couple, it doesn't necessarily have to be man and wife, man and women. It can be defined otherwise also. So the coming of 2 people coming together for self-gratification and for own convenience is not called Grihastha, it's called Graha Medhi. Graha Medhi means, Graha is of course, we call, it's a house. Medhi means one who is entangled, who is so absorbed in his duties that he forgets the real goal of life. It's called Graha Medhi. And so this Grihastha life is explained very nicely in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, chapter 2. Canto 12, chapter 2, verse 2. I'll just read only the translation. We understand where we are at and what is happening to the situation. 12:2. The text also says in Kali Yuga, wealth alone will be considered the sign of a man's good birth, proper behavior, and fine qualities. Law and justice will be applied only on the basis of one's power. Let's continue. Men and women will live together merely because of superficial attraction, and success in business will depend on deceit. Womanliness and manliness will be judged according to one's expertise in sex, and a man will be known as a Brahmana just by his wearing thread. It's all happening already, you can see that. This was written 5,000 years ago. A person's spiritual position will be ascertained merely according to external symbols, and on that same basis will change from one spiritual order to the next. A person's propriety will be seriously questioned if he does not earn a good living, and one who is very clever at juggling words will be considered world scholar. This is amazing. And devotees are not very good in juggling words. They are very straightforward. A person will be judged unholy if he does not have money, and hypocrisy will be accepted as a virtue. Marriage will be arranged simply by verbal agreement, and the person will think he is fit to appear in public if he merely taken a bath. Very profound statements. Text 6. A sacred place will be taken to consist of no more than a reservoir of water located at distance, and beauty will be thought to depend on one's hairstyle. Filling their belly will become the goal of life, and one who is audacious will be accepted as truthful. He who can maintain a family will be regarded as an expert man, and the principles of religion will be observed only for the sake of reputation. You can see all that happening. As the earth becomes crowded, dust becomes crowded, the corrupt population, whoever among any of the social classes shows himself to be the strongest, will gain political power. Losing their wives and properties to such avaricious and merciless rulers who will behave no better than ordinary kings, the citizens flee to the mountains and forests. I didn't even know the forest would exist. Harass their family in excessive taxes. People resort to eating leaves, roots, flesh, wild honey, fruits, flowers, and seeds. Struck by drought, they will become completely ruined. The citizens will suffer greatly from cold, wind, heat, rain, and snow. They will be further tormented by quarrels, hunger, thirst, disease, and severe anxiety. The last one. The maximum duration of life for human being in Kali Yuga will become 50 years. That is coming. So, we are already seeing all of that symptoms right currently, and so there's no surprise what is going to be happening in the future. So, this is how it is. So, we are not living a grihastha life. We are living Grihami's life because we are coming together for self-gratification and for convenience. And as it explains, marriage is only by verbal agreement, and people can divorce so quickly. So there is no concept of having some proper system, spiritual life together. So how do we contract it? The only way we can contract this is, in the effect of Kali Yuga, is for husband and wife to live a life of an ideal grihastha, in keeping Krishna the center of all activities. Very interesting, when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna is a grihastha himself. Now if you read the verses of Krishna, 574 verses Krishna has spoken in Bhagavad Gita, a lot of the verses specifically are addressing the grihasthas. Now, Bhagavad Gita is applicable to all varnas and all ashramas, and I'm not saying that it's only for specifically for grihasthas, but the emphasis is heavily on grihasthas. Because if you read the verse very carefully, the instructions are so specific that you would think that, because Krishna says, you have to perform your duty and then think of me in your mind. Constantly think of me in your mind. But perform your duty. Perform your duty. Several times he constantly reminds that you have to perform your duty. Whatever state you are, whatever swadharma you are doing, do that, but you think of me in your mind. Now if you ask a brahmacharya or a vanaprastha or sannyasi, they'll say, look, my swadharma and swadharma are exactly the same. Because my activities are Krishna conscious activities. At least, what's supposed to be. Brahmacharya is a student who spends all this time in Gurukul and learning about Krishna consciousness. So he serves a spiritual master and he learns the Shastras, and therefore the entire time is spent learning about Krishna consciousness. Vanaprastha is one who has already finished all his duties and is disengaging, detaching himself from all the worldly activities and going towards a stage of complete detachment. And sannyasi, as he was completely already detached. So all these three ashramas are in one sense engaged on a day-to-day basis in Krishna consciousness. But grihasthas are the one who are totally engaged in maintaining family, maintaining children, earning money, and so for them, engaging their mind in Krishna is very difficult. At least we give an excuse. We are so busy, we can't come to temple, we can't chant, too much time is taken in maintaining family and maintaining house and so forth. And so, Grahasthas have this sort of an excuse that they can't perform the Krishna consciousness or bhakti 24 hours a day. So once a brahmachari asked a Grahastha. The Grahastha had a wife, he had a few young children, he had a teenage girl, in a teenage situation. So he asked, brahmachari asked the Grahastha, Prabhu, I don't understand. Krishna says this world, material world is Dukkhade Mashashti. I don't understand where is Dukkhade, everything seems to be okay. So the Grahastha said, I will show you a practical demonstration. He said, come to my house on the weekend. And I will tell you why life is Dukkhade. So he said, okay, but where is Ashashvatam? Why is it temporary? He said, you come when my mother-in-law is also there. And you realize my life will become very temporary. So, family life, you see, is very difficult because we have to maintain, so we have to do the balancing act. And a lot of us here are Grahasthas. Some of us are not Grahasthas yet. Some of us are brahmachari or going to be Grahasthas in the future. But nevertheless, it's very important to understand this particular ashrama, because as I said earlier, this Grahastha ashrama is maintaining and sustaining other societies, other ashramas. And if the Grahastha ashrama is working properly, the brahmacharya, vanaprastha and sannyasa ashrama will also be proper. If the Grahastha does not work properly, then others will also follow suit. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he preached Krishna consciousness and he made sannyasas. Srila Prabhupada, one step further, he preached Krishna consciousness and he made Grahasthas. And Grahasthas, in the sense that he knew, Srila Prabhupada knew, that especially in Western world, sannyasi ashramas were very difficult. And even though he encouraged sannyasi ashram, but he knew that the sense were getting dragged in different directions. And so he also encouraged Grahasthas. He was very pleased when husband and wife will perform Krishna consciousness together. And so Krishna repeatedly instructs Arjuna that to do his swadharma and also focus his mind constantly on Krishna. There are several verses in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is asking Arjuna, in fact all of us, to engage our mind on Krishna while performing our occupational duties. For instance, if you look at the chapter 8, verse 7, Krishna is saying, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anushma yudacha Mahi arpita manobuddhi ma vivasasi asamshaya. When Krishna uses asamshaya means there is no doubt. That means he promises there is no doubt in achieving. So what is Krishna saying? He is saying that therefore Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting, and with your activity dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed upon me, you will attain me without doubt. Very specific instruction. You perform your prescribed duties as prescribed for your swadharma. If you are a householder, if you are a doctor, if you are a housewife, whatever the case may be, you perform your prescribed duties. But at the same time, you should dedicate your activities and mind upon me. If you do that, then Krishna is promising that you will attain Krishna, and for it there is no doubt. Krishna is guaranteeing that. And therefore, if one thinks of Krishna while performing the Grahastha duties, Krishna promising we will attain the spiritual world. There was one Srila Prabhupada, as you know, he does the morning walk in the beach, and all the disciples are walking with him asking questions. And therefore, one Srila Prabhupada was quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam. And he was explaining that the different levels of spiritual advancement according to the different ashramas. And Prabhupada said a brahmacharya has 50% chance of going back to earth. A sannyasi has 75% of going back to earth. Grahastha has 25% chance of going back to God. It's a bit of a low, because again, as I said, we get dragged into different things. So one devotee asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you say that Grahastha has only 25% chance of perfection in his lifetime and going back to God. Yes. And then they picked on a devotee called Saurabha. So what about Saurabha? Now who is Saurabha? Saurabha was he was an architect. He was Grihastha, but for all practical terms, he lived in the temple. Because he used to, very austere, he used to sleep on the floor, he put a mat on the floor, sleep, and he would attend to the brahmacharya ashram. And he would spend more than 18 hours a day designing a beautiful temple, magnificent temple, and spend time on planning and executing. So his service to Prabhupada was to build a magnificent temple. So Saurabha in all terms he was Grihastha, but he was spending all his time in Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada stopped and said, he's not a Grihastha, he's a sannyasi. Which means Srila Prabhupada explained that these divisions, one, even though we call them brahmacharya and Grihastha and so forth, it depends on one's consciousness. Grihastha can also be considered sannyasi and sannyas ashram if he engages his life in such a way that he is completely Krishna conscious. Follows the 4 principles, chants attentively, and does service, that person would be considered to be a sannyasi. And of course, we have to follow that strictly. To be considered to be in that category, we have to follow that very strictly. And also keep Krishna center of all activities. That becomes sannyasi. There's another verse, very, very important verse we read in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9, very famous verse 47. Krishna says, Yat karoshi yat adnashi, yat juhosi vadasya, yat tapasasya kaunteya, tat prasada madarpanam. Krishna says, O son of Kunti, whatever you do, whatever you perform, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever ashtanis you perform that as an offering. And this is very applicable to all of us as Grihasthas. So whatever we do, whether we are earning or living for Krishna, we live a household life which should be dedicated to Krishna. Whatever we eat, we offer to Krishna. And any austerity we perform, we offer to Krishna. All of that being offered to Krishna, that activity becomes perfect. And so what does it mean to us today when we say that we have to live a Krishna conscious life? And Prabhupada said many times that one should be Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. It's a very profound statement, and you wonder how can one be Krishna conscious 24 hours a day? And this question Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking Narada. And this is very nicely explained in Canto 7, this is chapter 14. And I recommend all of you to read this. I'm just going to give you a gist of what Narada tells Yudhishthira Maharaj about what makes an ideal family life. What is an ideal Grihastha life should look like? And what are the different characteristics of a husband and wife relation which makes a life perfect for a Krishna conscious life. So I'll just give you just a snapshot of what Narada tells. It says, firstly, the most important thing for a Grihastha, for a husband and wife, is to be fully dependent on Vasudeva, Krishna. The first and foremost is they should have complete faith that Krishna is the supreme controller, and even though they are controlling their own realm of whatever they have, a wife is controlling the husband, or the husband is trying to control wife, and then together they try to control the children. But understanding that Krishna, Ishvara, is a controller is very important. And they try to satisfy Krishna in all respect by executing devotional service. The most important part of this part is that husband and wife should perform devotional service together. It makes a very big difference when a couple comes together and performs devotional service. When they hear, when they chant together, when they perform different services, either it is cooking or it is cleaning, deity worship, all of that, when we perform devotional service together, it makes such a big difference. It's very difficult, of course, sometimes we see either the husband is interested, wife is not, or sometimes we see the wife is very interested, husband is not. There could be mismatch. But it is together, when Srila Prabhupada always said, if the husband and wife can do service together, then bhakti is amplified many times. And you can see the result yourself. And most importantly, the relationship between husband and wife should be based on chastity. Now, we have a misconception about this word chastity. Chastity, we think, is being loyal to one another. Husband is chaste when he is loyal to his wife. A wife is chaste when she is loyal to her husband. The real meaning of chastity is that when you are exclusively and repeatedly praying to Krishna. That's the real meaning of chastity. Chastity means keeping Krishna in the center of all your activities and never forgetting Krishna, the real meaning of chastity. If you are not attracted to Krishna, and then if you are attracted to somebody else, including husband and wife, that is not the real meaning of chastity. If you see real chaste women, for example, would be the Draupadi. Even though you say, oh, she's trying to find husbands, but she's chaste women because her mind was always absorbed in Krishna. Complete surrender to Krishna, she was chaste women. So like that, we also can be defined as chaste husband or chaste woman if we are completely surrendered to Krishna. We think of Krishna as our goal of life. Otherwise, if you're being loyal to each other, that is a very, very beginning stage of chastity, because any time this Maya is so strong, that can change everything. Our mind can get distracted. In fact, Srila Prabhupada was very pleased in initial days when he encouraged Grihasthas. But later he was quite disturbed when he saw that devotees were getting distracted and they were starting to engage themselves outside marriage. And he was very disturbed. And he kept repeating, if you read the Sikshamrita book, and he has written letters to so many Grihastha disciples. Very, very strong letters are written. Now, please don't do that. You stay in this ashram. If you're not happy with each other, take a break for some time. But do not disengage. Do not leave the ashram. So it's very important. And so, Narad Muni is explaining the first and most important thing is to have Krishna as center of all the activities. And the second one is depending on the instructions of authorities, both spiritual and managerial authorities, and association of devotees who are engaged in devotional service. Because we, as I said, it's very difficult for us, both husband and wife, together. There is so much distractions going on in the world, so many different competing priorities. Unless you are submitting yourself to authority, it is very difficult to continue this process of bhakti. It applies to all ashramas anyway. I'm not suggesting one like others. It applies to all ashramas. But what happens is, if husband and wife together they're engaged in serving devotees, then they get the servant attitude very quickly. The servitude attitude comes when you are serving devotees very nicely. So in your house you can invite, when sannyasis come, invite your home and you offer nice prashadam, have home programs, invite devotees to the house and serve them nicely. The more you serve devotees, the more you associate with devotees, the more you keep your mind in control, and you have this most important attitude the devotee should have, the servitude attitude. And then sometimes we think that both husband and wife, when they initiated, and their instructions are given by spiritual master. Sometimes we see that a husband is able to serve the spiritual master personally. Being male body, it's easy to serve the spiritual master. And being a female body is very difficult to serve the spiritual master very closely. So sometimes the female might think, or the women might think that I'm not able to serve my spiritual master like how my husband is serving. But it's explained that if a husband is serving spiritual master and is following the instruction of spiritual master very nicely, and if a wife is serving the husband and following the instruction of the husband, it is explained that the wife is already and also serving the spiritual master. So, but it's important for the husband to follow the instruction of spiritual master very nicely. And therefore, between husband and wife, it is very important to keep each other in check. If the husband is not following instructions, if he is deviating, the wife should always correct the husband, and vice versa as well. So we have seen in history, like at Ravana, he was distracted. He had lots of feelings towards Mother Sita. But Mandodari, she tried to correct him so many times. But of course he didn't listen, so he had to face his consequences. So we see in so many instances where the wife is trying to, even between Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Gandhari explained to him so many times, don't be so attached to your kingdom and your throne. But he would not listen. But if Dhritarashtra had accepted authority properly, then the situation would not arise. So the point is that depending on instructions of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra is very, very important for a grihastha ashram to function and to progress in bhakti together. And the third thing Narada Muni explains to Vishnu Maharaj is Shravana, hearing. I've already explained about the importance of hearing. Sometimes you may understand, you may not understand the philosophy. But one must hear from the mouth of a realized soul. And the reason why one must hear Srimad Bhagavatam is the more you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, the attraction for a husband towards wife and children will slowly, gradually reduce. And the attraction for women towards husband and children will also gradually reduce. For a family, detachment is the most difficult thing. Especially for a mother. If you ask a mother to be detached from a child, it's a very, very difficult concept for her. But at the end of the day, if you want to progress in devotional service, affection should be there, but the detachment should also be there. The more we are attached to our family members, the more we are getting bonded in this material. So this detachment comes the more we hear. And it comes gradually. You don't have to suddenly say, okay, today I'm detaching. This false detachment doesn't work. It has to be gradual and it has to come with proper understanding, with proper knowledge. Prabhupada did not encourage grihasthas who wanted to take up sannyasi unless they were completely ready. So many instances where the husband would get fed up of his wife taunting him and taking sannyasi ashram. Prabhupada would stop and say, no, this is not right. You follow your differences first. And then when you are ready, you take up. So Shravana is important because we get knowledge, we get proper knowledge, we are properly established. And then when we are ready, then we feel detached from ourselves. The fourth thing is about earning. Grihasthas, one of the most important aspects of grihasthas is they have the earning capacity. And this earning capacity is important because they are maintaining the society, maintaining the ashram also. And therefore, the grihasthas should live very consciously, which means that they should not endeavor too much to make money, and they should not try to hold on too much money and to wealth. So Bhagavatam is explaining that women who have natural affection for gold and jewelry should only have jewelry and gold minimum required to please the husband. Should not hold too much gold. Because if you are holding too much gold, our mind is always, safety of the gold, where is that, what is the price of gold, what is, your mind is distracted there, our mind will not be focused on Krishna. So what is necessary, basic necessary to keep our body and soul together, to keep our family together, that much that is necessary, that is enough. More than that is not necessary. Prabhupada always said that for a grihastha to have a land, to have a cow, and to grow some vegetables, that is enough. No need for industry, no need for these big machines. But of course, as we read in Kali Yuga, that is already happening. And so we are all confused, we are all very frustrated. And accumulation of money is not necessary. Accumulation of money is good if it is used for Krishna consciousness. And so charity is a very big part of grihastha life. Charity towards Krishna consciousness. Why is charity important means because it reduces our attachment towards our wealth. We are so attached to our bank balance, to our house. The more we give charity, the more we realize that we are not attached to this thing. And so, every time I feel that a sannyasi comes, we should partake some of Lakshmi towards the person. We should give some Lakshmi to the temple. You have a nice machine there, very easy. You don't have to worry about bringing cash or not. Very easy. So, charity is very important. Charity is important because the money is used for sustaining the brahmacharya ashram and sannyasi ashram. So there are, and Narada explained there are 5 ways one grihastha should spend money. Very important for all of us to understand. 5 ways a grihastha should spend money. Firstly, the money should be spent worshipping the Supreme Personal Godhead. Buying flowers, buying fruits, and whatever we can spend on daily worship, very, very good. And secondly, for receiving Vaishnavas. When a visiting Vaishnava comes, we spend, give them some Vaishnava because they come to impart knowledge to us, they spend money on their own. So we impart some of the wealth we learn towards them. Again, I'm just going very, very quickly, I hope. And if you read chapter 14 of Canto 7, we will have more detail on that. And then the money should be used for distributing prasadam to public. A prasadam is one best way of preaching Krishna consciousness to mass public. Because no one will say no to prasadam. And prasadam is sure way for the implanting the seed of bhakti in someone's heart. Especially people who are so atheistic in today's world, prasadam is one sure way of planting the seed of bhakti in someone's heart. So, Sunday feast, sponsorship, as every opportunity we sponsor prasadam to the public. And then offer prasadam to the forefathers. They also, some of the forefathers are waiting. The Prithiloka says the waiting stage for them to get to the next stage of life. But if you offer prasadam to them and if they change, they get spiritualized. So we are also helping the forefathers in one sense. And most importantly, we spend money on prasadam for our own sake, for faith in the family. So if one spends money wisely, and one spends money for Krishna consciousness, the whole earning becomes Krishna conscious. So we remember, even though gambling is one of the 4 regular principles, indirectly or directly, they are all engaged in gambling. All of them. Those who are earning, superannuation goes into a fund, which we don't know where they invest. They invest mostly in share market. So the share market is also in one sense gambling. So, in one sense, even though we think that we are following for it very seriously, but there is an element of us breaking the following. So, what is the solution? The sum of the earning is becoming Krishna. That earning becomes spiritual. Abraham would be very happy. Excellent. But what I'm saying is, we have to spiritualize our whole life, and grahasthas, they earn money. So spiritualize your earning by giving to Krishna. And then, very important is, the grahasthas should show affection toward lower species of life. The animals, birds, aquatics, and trees and so forth. Like their own children. Because they, not only the other ashrama, but the other species of life are also dependent on humans. What is happening now? Humans are showing the superiority by killing trees, by killing animals for their own sense gratification. This is one of the most abominable sinful activities one can do. If you read the Bhagavatam, there are 550 million sinful activities listed there. The number 2 is killing animals unnecessarily for their own sense gratification. And the punishment is very, very, very severe for that. You go to different hellish planets and you get punished very severely for that. So, we can also offer prasadam to them. In olden days, we had such a good system. People used to have prasadam on a banana leaf. And once the banana leaf was eaten, the banana leaf with the remnants will be given to a cow. The cow will eat. So there is no wastage. 100% environmentally friendly. No plastics, nothing, and all the waste will be eaten. The cows got prasadam, or the other animals got prasadam, and then we have disposed of very, very wisely. Kali-yuga late, men have gone away from it, and we are just creating more and more problems for us. So, grahasthas should be very affectionate to those species of life, and should look after them like their own children. And then grahasthas should visit holy dham, holy places with family. Very important because they get spiritually energized. And Srila Prabhupada always encouraged grahasthas to visit holy place, not for tourism, but for purification, association, and hearing from sages. It was very important we go and see the deities, the deities are here also. This is also, in one sense, not different from a holy. But you go to a holy place because there are a lot of sadhus living, and they purify the place. So when you go there, you have to make an effort to hear from them. What is this place about? Explain about the deities. And when you hear from them, you understand the glories of the holy place. It's very different. And Prabhupada said, grahastha should go to the temple, holy place regularly. Otherwise, he will become a grahamedi. If one goes to a holy place and does not meet devotees or hear Bhagavatam, then it is simply a waste of time and money. I'll quickly finish. The other one is cleanliness. The cleanliness is very, very important, internally and externally. Husband and wife should keep the house very neat and tidy because the house belongs to Krishna. If you go to somebody's house and if you see the house and kitchen in a very shabby way, then you can understand what the state is. Like how we keep our altar very clean and tidy, we should also keep our heart clean and tidy. Because Krishna will not live in a place which is untidy. He doesn't like it. So our heart should be clean, our house should be clean. If our house is not clean, how is our heart going to be clean? So we make an effort. Both husbands should work together to keep cooperate with each other and be very clean all the time. And therefore, it's explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakti Pareshan Bhava Virakti Anyatra Chaisak Rika Eka Kala. Devotion, three things. Devotion, direct experience of Krishna, of Supreme Lord, and detachment from material things. They happen simultaneously when you take up the process of bhakti. And he explained the example of when you are hungry, when you eat food, three things happen simultaneously. Hunger is satisfied, you get nourishment to the body, and thirdly you get pleasure. Three things happen simultaneously. So similarly, when you take the process of bhakti, the devotion, experience of Krishna consciousness, and detachment happen simultaneously. And therefore, the goal of life, spiritual growth, should be to keep Krishna as center of activities, all activities. And then they say that a family that prays together stays together. And if a family that serves the Lordship together, they progress in Krishna consciousness together. So it's very important. The reason I'm saying all of that is here, the queens of Krishna, even though they are queens, but they treat themselves as the servant of Krishna. And Krishna also plays a perfect role of a husband. And together they are performing the role of grahasthas. So when Narada goes to 16,108 houses, Krishna is actually giving birth to a child, or is washing pots, or he's cooking. So they both, when he's amazed to see both husband and wife, Krishna and the priest, are performing the perfect role of husband and wife. And they're giving that as an example to us. Krishna can say, I'm Supreme Lord, I don't have to do all this. But Krishna is doing it so that we can follow that as an example. So it's very important, all of these different stories we're hearing in this particular chapter gives us the inspiration to how to serve Krishna together in association of devotees and progress in our bhakti very nicely. And if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, if you're struggling with Krishna consciousness, the association is going to be there. Okay, I'll end here. There are more to say, but I can't give time. Any questions or comments or corrections, please? Yes?
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. You said marriage will be by verbal agreement, like in this age. So the marriage that, like in our culture, is done, is it not verbal agreement?
So the living relationship is based on verbal. So if people in this country, especially here, people do not have a document to say as a If you ask them why don't you have it, they say what's the point? You spend $20,000, $25,000 in a wedding, money, and anyway we're not sure we're using it to anything. So we might as well just try and test it. So this living relationship, unfortunately, is also coming into Indian society, and so there's ways of verbal agreement. You're okay, I'm okay, we live together. When you're not okay, I'm not okay, we live together. And everyone seems to be perfectly fine. So morality is gone. That concept of living together, the marriage institution is disappearing. And that's what we make in that all the verses.
So what agreement is to, like the fire, is that what you mean? Like in our culture?
Yeah, so those are rituals, obviously. But most important is when you take vow in front of the fire. I take a vow that I will look after in health and in distress, in disease. Those vows are very important. Even when initiation we take vows, we follow for principles. Those vows are very important because you're making in front of the Lord. You're promising the Lord I will do this. So it's better not to break. And if you again, Prabhupada never encouraged divorce between husband and wife. He was strongly against it. He said, come what may, even there are differences, try to solve it out. Or if it is unbearable, take break. But do not separate permanently. So, yeah. But sometimes we see an example then there is an exception. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we read about the wife of the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas were perfectly clear and they said, this is offering to the Lord. And when Lord Krishna and Balaram asked, we are hungry, God, give us. And they said, this is for the Lord. The wife refused. He said, where is your intelligence gone? This is their lordships, they are supreme with the Godhead, and this is the offering today. And when the husband refused, they said, okay, and good luck, and they left. There was no guarantee for them to go back because they had left. But Krishna promised them, don't go, they'll have a change of heart and go back. So, wife sometimes, this situation happened with husband and wife. But Prabhupada explains that the wife or husband, if there is a disagreement, if there is a disengagement of Krishna consciousness, should give an example in life, should give an example. Other person feels encouraged. So they should not give up. So yes, so we take vows not to give up, and in any situation, we should be together. Otherwise, it will be a mere verbal agreement. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, you said that if someone everybody in the family does bhakti together, they proceed together, right? But what if someone in the family does some bad activity or something? Does that mean the whole family will get the karma or just that person?
We always ask that questions. So, the husband is the spiritual leader of the house. The duty of the wife is to support the husband, and together they have to make the children to be Krishna conscious. And it is explained, Bhakti explained that a husband and wife should not come together unless they are sure that they will have Krishna conscious children. And it is explained that a husband, when he performs bhakti, 50% of his bhakti goes to the wife. When a wife performs bhakti, 100% of bhakti remains with her. When a husband makes a mistake, 100% remains with him. When a wife makes a mistake, 50% goes to the husband. I'm not sure if you understand the mathematics. But in all terms, the wife benefits. Husband, poor guy, already is being thrashed in different ways. He gets thrashed here also. But the important point is that it's a great responsibility for the husband to lead the family in Krishna consciousness. Mistakes happen, and therefore, explaining 9th chapter, Apite Sudacharya, Bhajatrima, mistakes happen, but they come very quickly, they come back to the position. And therefore, they should be treated similarly. The next verse is even more important. He says that they come back very quickly, right? Those people who are already established in Krishna consciousness, they come back very quickly. One man asks, how can they come back quickly when they're already in Krishna conscious? Yes, they made a mistake, they distracted, or whatever happened, but they are already in Krishna conscious. How is it possible for them to re-establish when they're already established in Krishna consciousness? This is explained in actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He explains, for those who see that person as a saintly person, they are also progressing Krishna consciousness. They are properly established in Krishna consciousness. So, it's a matter of understanding, supporting each other, and working together. As I said, cooperation is very important. And when someone makes a mistake, understanding and correcting, supporting, and working towards. It's a big question, it's a very big question to ask, but I'm just giving you a very high level answer. But if someone makes a mistake within the family, then the family should work towards fixing it. But stay together as much as possible. Very easy to split, very difficult to work together. But sometimes distance is necessary. Physical distance sometimes, so that they say that, that distance might actually bring people together. But that should be only for a short time, not for long. That makes sense. Don't forget the percentage. Thank you so much, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the lovely class. I'm very happy to announce that our 2026 Vedic calendar is available for purchase. Many devotees work very hard to get the calendar ready. So this calendar is more than just a collection of dates. Every page is a reminder of what the true goal of life is. So please take a copy home, and please consider taking extra copies to your family and friends. It's the best gift you can give anyone. Thank you. Hare Krishna. $10. Just $10.
not married.